More than 20 sites hit, 30 top organizers arrested. Investigators say this wasn't vice, it was trafficking logistics. Tonight, we reveal who ran it.
Because this isn't just another local sting. This is the latest human trafficking enforcement operation led by the P County Sheriff's Office. One that pulls in bigger partners, bigger resources, and a much darker suspicion. A daytime raid in the heart of Chinatown. Doors splintering, officers moving fast. And at the same time, miles away, a trooper stops a car near Toledo, leans in, and notices the passenger is a young girl. And then we cut again. Is 12 minutes past 4 in the morning in Franklin, Alabama, and the atmosphere feels heavy. Not peaceful, not quiet, heavy, like the air itself is warning you that something is about to happen. Across the street, a blinking neon light announces the presence of a so-called wellness center. The sign pulses green, nauseating, relentless, painting the wet asphalt below in a sickly glow. From the curb, it resembles any other quiet shop in a sleepy town. Just another storefront, just another sign, just another place you'd walk past without thinking twice. But step inside, and the illusion collapses. The smell hits first. Old tobacco, stale air, and then something you can't mistake for anything else. Fear. The kind that doesn't belong in a business. The kind that lives in the dark corners of a parking lot where nobody is supposed to look. Tonight, investigators aren't moving with a handful of officers. They've got serious numbers. Dozens of agents from federal task forces and Homeland Security investigations, HSI, tightening tactical gear, checking radios, adjusting night vision. These men and women are the front line of what they're calling Operation Coast to Coast. And whatever you think this is, they're telling you up front, this is not a simple small-town bust. This is an attempt to dismantle a phantom web, a multi-billion-dollar engine built on exploitation. A system that can stretch from international hubs all the way to peaceful residential streets in the American heartland. And on this channel, we expose the dark reality behind illicit massage rings. Operations that can transform your local block into a cash machine for organized crews hiding behind legitimate-looking doors. Because this fight isn't only about arrests. It's about the safety of neighborhoods and the people living right beside these fronts without even realizing it. Aurora police are going after massage parlors for prostitution, cases that sometimes lead to larger investigations and the discovery of trafficking networks. The feds are playing hardball now, but they can't win it alone. It depends on everyday people staying alert. So if this information stuns you, do something right now. Hit the like button and type "Protect America" in the comments. Not because it's a slogan, but because your engagement forces this story into more feeds and makes it harder for the people behind these operations to hide in silence. Now, here's where everything turns. As federal teams kick down doors across Franklin, Austin, and New York, at the same time, they expected a familiar outcome. A few undocumented laborers, a manager, some cash, maybe a couple phones. Instead, the scene waiting for them rattled even seasoned agents. Because this place did not feel like a business. It felt like containment. It felt like a prison. Inside, officers describe an absolute absence of basic human dignity. And then, one specific detail escalated this from vice enforcement to something far more serious. Because the people running the show were not behaving like average street criminals. While the team locked down the area, signal detectors started going haywire. And investigators say they found locations rigged with concealed spying equipment. High-definition lenses hidden in everyday objects. The kind of setup designed to watch everything. Every movement. Every mistake. Every attempt to resist. And according to investigators, some of these feeds were being monitored remotely. Not just by someone down the street, but by controllers operating far away, outside the immediate jurisdiction, overseeing the operation like a command center. Pause on that. Because if that's true, then this wasn't just solicitation. This was management. This was logistics, a factory-scale system of coerced labor. And the alleged victims, predominantly Chinese women in this case narrative, weren't described as people living freely. Investigators say they were baited with offers of honest employment, handed paperwork that looked official, put on planes, brought over the ocean, and then, only then, did the real trap snap shut. The cage door locking behind them the moment they arrived. Captors allegedly told them they now owed a debt $50,000 to $70,000 just for passage and placement. And to pay it off, they worked every day, long hours, sleeping where they could, sometimes on the same beds used by clients. And when agents discovered logbooks, the picture got worse. Because the women weren't just kept in one town. They were rotated, shuffled between states every couple of months. Texas to New York, Missouri to Oklahoma. Constant motion, constant disorientation. A tactic designed to keep them unfamiliar, unable to learn English, unable to feel safe enough to run to a neighbor, unable to build any lifeline at all. They lived in perpetual motion, treated not like people, but like disposable inventory in a moving market. And that's when investigators realized what they were dealing with. This web had dug its claws deep into the American interior, from the coasts of California and New York to the plains of Texas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. An invisible wire of cash, coordination, and control bound it all together. Behind the scenes, investigators say an entire support structure kept it moving. Recruiters, drivers, bookkeepers. The logistics arm that ensures the assembly line never skips a beat. And they hid in plain sight, turning normal shopping centers and quiet suburban plazas into hubs for moving women nationwide. The sheer number of handcuffs slapping shut was enough to crack the news cycle. But the true horror story wasn't only in the arrests. It was in the paperwork, in the ledgers, because that's where you see the machine. Cash flowing through hollow corporations posing as harmless health spas and consulting firms. And when investigators cracked encrypted devices and seized records, they reportedly found messages linking local operators to higher-level coordinators. This wasn't random. It was organized, structured, disciplined, as dawn broke over shattered glass. And the first survivors were guided out of darkness into protection. A terrifying truth surfaced in the morning light. This went far beyond a standard raid. It was a strike against a hidden battalion, an operation waging a silent war right under the noses of everyday citizens. And as investigators pulled the thread, they realized they weren't staring at the end of the road. They were standing at the entrance to a darker labyrinth. Once the smoke cleared from the first wave of Operation Coast to Coast, the number crunchers stepped in. Financial investigators, digital analysts, the teams that don't chase suspects. They chase money, because receipts don't have emotions. They don't panic. They don't lie to save themselves. They just point. And what those receipts pointed to was not some neighborhood account. Investigators say it revealed a worldwide maze designed to wash exploitation profits clean. Not a few scattered mom-and-pop shops, but a cross-border financial machine, run with a cold, corporate precision. Earnings from exploitation in Alabama, Texas, and New York, fractured into thousands of tiny payments. A tactic known as smoothing. Here's how investigators describe the flow. The moment money is extracted at one location, it's logged. It hits a lockdown spreadsheet, and then it zigzags through layers of shell entities, with bland, harmless names meant to disappear into the noise. Investigators say they saw financial updates transmitted overseas on tight cycles, hour after hour. That kind of discipline is exactly how a network stays a ghost story for years. But the logistics didn't stop at currency. They moved human beings just as efficiently. A rotation schedule, constant movement. Women treated like inventory in a global warehouse rather than human beings. And while the analysts decoded the money, boots on the ground were about to find something that proved just how entrenched the system was. In Texas and California, agents reportedly found physical evidence of infrastructure. Not just rented space, but construction designed for evasion. On a single block, 3 storefronts that looked unrelated from the sidewalk were secretly linked by a hidden hallway built inside. A rat run, a way to move victims and critical evidence next door the moment law enforcement hit the front entrance. It proved the syndicate hadn't just moved in. It had grafted itself into the city's architecture. And investigators knew the stakes. Make noise too soon, and the rest scatter back into the dark. So they watched. They waited. They monitored the arrival of shift supervisors, people who didn't look like customers, people who looked like management, fixers, middle layers, the ones who keep the daily grind running. Taking them down required choreography. Strike teams memorized layouts, marked concealed chambers, mapped makeshift sleeping quarters. Their objective went beyond kicking down doors. They aimed to dismantle the mental prisons trapping these women. Each warrant was a fragment of a bigger web tied to visa fraud, dirty money, and organized crime. Understanding the scope changed everything. They weren't hunting low-level handlers. They were taking a sledgehammer to a machine built on logistics and control. Investigators also alleged additional smuggling pathways, routes designed to get victims onto U.S. soil outside normal scrutiny. And survivors' accounts, when they speak, cut through the noise with one brutal truth. This isn't romance. This is an opportunity. It's orders. It's threats. It's being told where to go, what to do, and what happens if you don't comply. Now the countdown. The final minutes before the coordinated hit. And suddenly the magnitude snaps into focus. This isn't merely about shutting down businesses. It's about cutting the head off a monster that survives by blending in. Planning finished. Targets identified. Weapons racked. Rolls locked. And then the countdown ends, spanning 5 different states. The quiet suburban morning erupts. Stun grenades. Battering rams. Operation Coast to Coast goes live as teams storm more than 20 sites simultaneously. And inside, investigators describe a grim display of assembly line abuse. In Austin, officers reportedly found women crammed into tight crawl spaces, tucked behind fake paneling, spaces barely the size of a storage cupboard, mats on the floor, bare necessities, no comfort, no dignity. And as agents stormed in, many women didn't react like they were being rescued. To them, it looked like another horror scene unfolding, because when you've lived under control long enough, a stranger with a badge can look like just another captor. That's why translators and victim advocates stayed for hours, working to convince them the control was broken. For good. Authorities say the numbers were massive. They slapped cuffs on 30 top-tier organizers. Not grunts. Not disposable workers. The nerve center, allegedly running the entire show. One case in Oklahoma involved a 38-year-old man accused of running an online ring that moved a 14-year-old minor across borders. Federal indictments. Exploitation of a minor. Trafficking. A case that could end in life behind bars. Authorities say victims will get help. A spa owner faces court. But the biggest surprises surfaced when cataloging the evidence. Ripping up floors. Opening hidden safes. Pulling out what wasn't meant to be found. Not just books. Not just cash. Investigators say they found the riches of an underground war. The proof of scale. The blueprint of the operation. And the receipts that show how fast this highway of exploitation can move. Authorities caution that as soon as one shop closes, 2 more can pop up under fresh aliases. New corporate paperwork, new signage, same method. But law enforcement delivered a stark warning. Hiding behind a legitimate facade is no longer a guarantee. Beyond saving dozens of lives, this bust exposed a blueprint one investigators say mirrors modern-day slavery operating right here. Healing is only the first step. Survivors may receive protections like T-visas, legal safeguards designed to help victims cooperate without fear of immediate removal. Meanwhile, prosecutors move in with heavy charges. RICO, the same tool used to crush mob structures and drug empires, because the goal isn't just to arrest people, it's to dismantle enterprises. And the takeaway for the public is obvious. Liberty demands we stay alert, because these illicit spas were operating in shopping centers, right beside supermarkets, right beside playgrounds, counting on one thing to keep the money flowing: people looking away. So here's what I want you to do. If you want the next update on this case, the money trail, the hidden corporate structures, the next wave of arrests, and how task forces take back control from underground networks, subscribe right now. And don't just watch. Engage, hit like, and comment, protect America, so this reaches more people. Because awareness is pressure, visibility is resistance, and silence is exactly what these networks need to survive. Stay sharp.